is the one.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again doing what I do, walking along in beautiful locations such as this, and giving you my thoughts and opinions on things that are happening in the world and the public consciousness. If it's your first time here, welcome. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing today. If you're a returning subscriber, 1,402 of you, I think there are today, welcome along, or welcome one and all. It's a pleasure for me to have you join me for this walk through the forest in this beautiful, beautiful day in Suffolk in the UK. So I hope it is as wonderful where you are. Let's get on with today's video. Well, by the title of today's video, F-A-O is fuck around, find out. Today I'm going to be covering a broad spectrum of topics, and that will all culminate in the fuck around and find out moment. And as we go through this, I've been accused of a lot of things. Some of them are true. Some of them are true. But I've been accused of a lot of things, and one of them is that I'm in a cult. Yeah, and we're going to address that today as well, because what we've been seeing happen over the past, 30 days definitely, but over the past couple of weeks and definitely in the past couple of days, we've seen some moments that the cult members, obviously, are not happy about, and we are speaking out about it, which is why I'm out doing a video today in this beautiful weather. It is like, look at it, sunshine. Oh, it's lovely, absolutely gorgeous out here. And I've got my shirt on today, or my jumper on. I may be wrong, but it's highly unlikely. Anyway, let's get on with it, shall we? Fuck around and find out. Now, where do we start? Now, let's start with the most obvious, okay? Let's start with the most obvious, which is Trump, okay? Because, for those of you who don't know, I have supported the actions that Trump said that he would take, okay? Which is exposing Epstein, stopping the war in Ukraine, those kind of things. Just the stupid stuff that really doesn't matter to anybody, spending huge, vast sums of money on a war that's... They want the European nations, including this nation, Keir Starmer, is thirsty for some more war. He's never going to have to face the consequences of that war by going there and getting his ass shot at. No, he's going to sit there in Parliament and argue that we need to send more weapons and actually British troops to a war that we should have nothing to do with, and we should be finding some way to end peacefully. That will at least stop the killing of young people, stop the killing of a whole generation of Ukrainian and Russian young men who are out there fighting a war, and for what? So, I was in support of a lot of the concepts and things that Trump was talking about in his election campaign, and I made that glaringly obvious that he was an agent of change, and change is what we needed. We can't have more of the same of someone like Joe Biden. Look, we won't continue down that thread. We're going to come back to Biden and his ilk soon enough. But I want to start off with this whole Trump thing and this fuck around and find out moment that we're living through right now. So, I've been, me and the people like myself that are out there speaking their minds on social media, on these kind of platforms, YouTube and Rumble and these kind of platforms where we're openly talking about what we see and joining puzzle pieces together to form a picture of the world as it stands, so that people can have an understanding rather than the propagandist worldview of the mainstream media and social media fact checkers. We want to form a picture so that people can have a clearer image of the world to make their minds up and to decide on how they proceed forward and what they believe in, based on facts that are being presented to them rather than lies and propaganda. Okay? Now, we've been out here doing this work, and believe me, it is work. It's a lot of work to keep up with the politics, geopolitics, financial, economic, crypto, all this news. It's work. It is work to keep up with all of that, and then try and disseminate that information out to the masses. And as I've said from day one, I'm not in this for a paycheck. I don't ask for money. I don't accept money. I want nothing from anybody. The fact that people are giving me their time is, and taking the time to listen to these rants as I go through a walk through the forest. That to me is the ultimate thing that you can possibly give me, because it is the one thing that we all have less of. We don't have much time. We have one life, and we have to decide what we're going to do with it while we're here. And if we're going to impact this reality, if that's what we're calling it, whilst we're in this life, using that little bit of time that we have to leave a positive influence behind. Now, people are going to question whether my influence is positive or not, but that's not for me to decide. I do what I think is the best for my time and what I share, and I'm trying to leave a lasting impact on this world through the gathering of information and sharing of that, let's call it knowledge, for want of a better word, to help people make better decisions. Now, I'm not doing this full time. I will never do it full time. There's things I will be doing in the future that I'll be revealing as we go forward, as these things start to be set up. I mean, obviously my work is still 7 days a week, but I do this not because I'm getting paid for it, not because I want to get paid for it, not because I'm trying to sell you t-shirts or anything like that, and I don't want to be accused of any of that, which is why I'm adamant that I don't want to sell t-shirts. Look, I'm happy for the people who do, because they're doing it full time. Good luck to you. But I don't want to be accused of only doing it for a paycheck, okay? The reason I'm doing it is because I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about finding out information and finding out the real reason that things are happening rather than the bullshit propaganda that we're fed, and dispensing that information out to a wider audience, as wide as I can get it anyway, and being part of a conversation that questions the narrative that we're being told, okay? Now, all of that said, right? This is the lead into where we're going with this, okay? I don't like being fucking lied to. I don't. I hate being lied to. I don't like propagandist assholes going out there and telling people complete lies and fabrications and mistruths and half-truths and just complete propaganda bullshit for a narrative that benefits not us. It impoverishes the average person by higher taxes and higher inflation because we're printing money to go to war that's not actually going to war. I don't like it, and that's why I speak out about it. Now, Trump came into his, in all of his rallies, he was talking about we're going to release the Epstein files. So we're going to start here. We'll start with the Epstein files, okay, because it makes me angry. It makes me angry to be lied to again, okay? Now, Pam Bondi, Trump's AG pick, Attorney General, for those of you who don't know the acronyms that go along with all this kind of nonsense that we're going to be talking about, Pam Bondi was brought in saying, we're going to follow the evidence and we're going to release it all to the public so that we can finally have justice for these victims of the likes of Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, okay? Now, just saying that name obviously gets you on the radar of having your videos, your content taken down, because you're not allowed to talk about these subjects, of course, because it's all not real, right? Jeffrey Epstein wasn't a predator, Chris. He was friends with Donald Trump. He's a wonderful man. He was a philanthropist. I'm not sure on how you pronounce that word, how you pronounce it. Like Bill Gates is a philanthropist, but I don't know that philanthropist is actually the proper pronunciation of that. I think it's full-on rapist is actually how you pronounce it. So we were promised, and by Pam Bondi and everyone in the Trump administration, we're going to get to the bottom of this whole Epstein thing. We're going to release all the files, release the files. Trump says to everybody, in the Justice Department. Trump can't be seen to be doing it himself, because then it's going to be, oh, it's political backlash. Trump is only doing this because he wants to get back at the people that tried to put him in prison for what, really? For what? Anyway, another story. We're going to release all these files. It's all declassified. Release the files. Kash Patel is now head of the FBI, and Dan Bongino is now his assistant. Pam Bondi, a district attorney, who made a political stance and said, we will not start with the name and look for a crime, which is what they did with Trump. We will find a crime and then go after the people responsible for that crime. Okay. Now, in this whole way that information is being disseminated at the moment, where DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, has gone out and found waste and fraud in government spending. Well, there's a surprise. I mean, who ever would have thought that there was waste and fraud in government spending? I mean, no one ever thought that, surely. Right? So DOGE goes out and starts exposing the financial crimes first, which is important. I get it. Because the financial crimes, the saying is always follow the money, right? So in order to find the crime, you need to follow the money. Where's the money gone? Where is it coming from? Where is it going to? What's it for? Blah, blah, and on and on and on. Now, the whole Epstein thing is a key point to understanding how the world works. Now, for any of you who've been here for longer than 10 seconds, joining me for these strolls through the forest, and I mean, it is beautiful around here. And, rather than looking at my ugly mug, if you're looking at the background as I walk through, and this forest has been destroyed, people have commented on that before. Around here, around where I am in the UK, they're building a new nuclear power station, and every piece of land has got a fence on it. It's got pipes running through it. There's trucks everywhere. I mean, it's destroying this idyllic piece of the Suffolk coast. For a nuclear power station. Oh, but it's green, Chris. Oh, we're not going to go there today. I promised I wouldn't talk about it today. I promised myself I'm not going to go there, but anyway, the green energy scam. Anyway, but that's for another day. Let's get back on point here, okay? This whole Epstein thing, we were told we were going to have the Epstein files were going to be released. Then the White House decided it would be a good idea to invite some YouTube and social media influencers along and give them a file that they could walk out of the White House going, look, we've got the Epstein files, look at us, right? Oh, God, it makes me angry. These ponces walking out of the White House with the Epstein files, showing it, look at us, and then doing videos. We've got the Epstein files, look at us, aren't we important? And then they were all blacked out. They're all redacted. I mean, golly, wow. I mean, that's transparency right there. Yeah, but the day before, Pam Bondi was on the television. This is the Attorney General of the United States, remember? She was on the television saying, I've got the Epstein files on my desk, and we're going to release it all. Mm-hmm. So I've got a whole pile of files with redacted documents in it. Gee, is that the best you can do? Really? That's the best you can do. Okay, now, there's so many things about this that are annoying the fuck out of me. So the influencers. Let's start with the influencers for just a second, okay? Now, who are these influencers that are going to tell us all the truth and share all this not information out with the public? Oh yes, but the FBI is withholding the documents. We'll get back to the FBI in just a second, okay? Now, the influencers. Now, before we get to the influencers, sorry, this is so convoluted, it's all over the place, and I'm trying to sort of find a clear path in my head to talk about all this stuff and put it together while I'm walking and talking, because I don't come out here with a script. I don't come out here with a laid out plan to say, okay, this is my script for today, I'm going to read it off the screen to you. No, I come out here with all the information I carry around with me on a daily basis. Everything I've come into contact with over years and years and years and years and years, I've been looking at this nonsense, right? And trying to decipher it and put it together in a way that I can present it that makes sense. And people say, oh, what's your source? I mean, honestly, it's so annoying. Anyway, the influencers. Now, go back to the point, sorry. The point being that, if you've been with me on this journey, and I've been talking about who Epstein is and his controller, Ghislaine Maxwell, and I'm sorry for those of you who have been on these walks with me and we've heard this 1,000 times, Chris. Yes, I understand. I understand how frustrating and annoying it is to have to repeat yourself and go, oh my God, we're going down this road again. But it's essential to this narrative that's being spun for us. Jeffrey Epstein was being run by and controlled by Israel through Mossad and the CIA and all the intelligence agencies as a honeypot scheme for politicians, famous people, influencers, to put them in a compromising position with minors so that then they can be controlled, so that the narrative that's being spun is the same narrative over and over again by these influencers, well-paid influencers, I might add, who are multi-millionaires, like getting paid to go to Ukraine to support Slava Ukraine, yes. We'll get back to Ukraine in a couple of minutes, okay? So all these influencers that are now controlled by this honeypot scheme run by Mossad, Israel. Now, I'm not talking about the Israeli people. I'm not talking about Jewish people. I'm talking about the Israel state. And I'm talking about the intelligence agency, Mossad, that is running a honeypot scheme using Jeffrey Epstein. CIA is exactly the same. That's Hugh Hefner is at the Playboy Mansion. Oh, that's not true, Chris. Yes, it is. Now, the influencers that were giving this information, openly Jewish. So it's not going to be hidden that Jeffrey Epstein was running on behalf of Mossad, Israeli intelligence, right? Wearing the Star of David necklaces, right? That's all going to be just purely, oh yes, they're really going to honestly report on Jeffrey Epstein, who he was and who he was working for. What do you think? Okay. No, yeah, but I'm in a culture. I'm not going to question what I'm told, right? Anything that Trump does is wonderful. No, it's not. Please. I've said that before, and I'll say it again hundreds of times if I have to, okay? Trump is an agent of change, and he's there to shake shit up, okay? We, on the other hand, are there to hold these people accountable when they step out of place and do the wrong fucking thing, which is one of these moments. Fuck around and find out. You're going to have the backlash of the whole community who has supported this change, in that we have to have transparency, we have to have an end to these wars, we have to have an end to corruption and money laundering and all the rest of the bullshit that's gone on through the decades of this open, blatant corruption in all of, not just Washington, but in all of politics around the world. We signed up for this to expose this kind of stuff, and then you're going to try and pull the wool over our eyes by using influencers that are coming out of the White House with an empty binder full of shit, of blacked out nonsense, and then go, well, it's not our fault, it's the FBI. And I'm not going to listen to people say, oh yeah, but Jeffrey Epstein had nothing to do with Israel. I mean, honestly, fuck off. That's my response. Fuck off. It's all a con, it's a lie. Anybody that says that's not true is full of shit, uninformed idiot. Sorry, if that hurts your feelings, cry harder. Now, it's widely known that Ghislaine Maxwell, daughter of Robert Maxwell, MI5, MI6 agent and Mossad agent, that was his daughter, and Jeffrey Epstein, equally so, okay? So, this whole idea that Jeffrey Epstein, the information was firstly given from the White House to influencers, obviously with nothing in it, was all the pages redacted. And these influencers were openly Jewish and working on behalf of this intelligence state to disseminate information. Well, it wasn't there anyway, but to disseminate information is not only suspect, I think it's part of the corruption. And it needs to be called out. Okay? First point. Fuck around and find out. You want to fuck around with your base, who has supported and done everything in their power to make sure that this administration in the US was voted in to expose this kind of nonsense, is now going to try and get away with not exposing this kind of nonsense. Fuck around and find out, okay? Because we're not going to stand for it. Secondly, let's get into the second part of this. The whole debacle that happened yesterday with Volodymyr Zelensky from Ukraine asking for more money to carry on a war that doesn't benefit anybody except the people who are invested in it, financially, of course, is ridiculous. And the fact that he was thrown out of the White House after this argument with Trump and Vance in front of the media is all theatre. It's theatre. It's utter theatre, and it's theatre to distract us all away from the fact that this whole Epstein flight list and all the corruption, all the videos and everything that went along with the whole Epstein thing was a complete fabrication. It was all like, oh, we're going to release the files. This whole theatre in the White House with Zelensky coming there is all a distraction. Like I've been saying about everything, it's all a distraction. It's you can argue the point and say it's not. It's all a distraction to distract everyone away from the complete fabrication of the bullshit that came out, well, that didn't come out for the Epstein files. Now, while we're still on the Epstein thing, this is important, okay? Now, if Pam Bondi was on the media and she said, we're not going to take a name and then go looking for a crime, we're going to find the crime and then we're going to go and find the people responsible who were involved in that crime. Okay, that's what she said on the television. We're not going to take a name and go looking for a crime. We're going to go find the crime and we're going to go and find the people responsible. Okay, now, if, for instance, this information for Epstein's flight list was to be released, okay, so the people, they said, oh, we have to wait because we have to make sure that the victims are protected. Okay, 250 victims of people that were flown to the island. So, if we were to release the list as it stands, not all the people on the list are guilty. Okay? Now, this list has been around for years, and if you want to see it, you can find it. It's not hard to find. It really isn't. And the names on the list are people that we already knew: Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, those kind of people. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Tom Hanks, those kind of people, who were on the list of people who went to the island. If that list was to be revealed, meaning that those people on that list were seemingly guilty of crimes against children, crimes against humanity, things that people can be not sent to prison for the rest of their life, but to pay the ultimate sacrifice for crimes against humanity, if the people on that list, if that list was revealed and those people are guilty of those crimes, well, firstly, if you're going to release the list, then surely you're starting with the name and you're looking for the crime, right? Or if we do have evidence against those people that are on the list and you just release the list without arresting those people, what does that say? Are you with me? Okay. Now, the whole Zelensky thing and this argument in the White House where, Zelensky, he's a petulant little fucking brat. He is been running around the world, give me more money, after he has a $35 million yacht that he's bought a couple of years ago with the money that's been sent there. Hundreds of billions of dollars have been sent in weapons and, money to pay the Ukrainian government and the services to keep going. Money that's been laundered out the back door. All the money's coming in, and then Zelensky turns around and says, oh no, they haven't sent us all this money. We've only got 75 billion. We don't know where the rest of the money's gone. Sounds kind of like that guy that came out the day before 9/11 said we can't find 2 trillion in the budget. Yeah, really happened. So we've got to this point of stupidity now, where we have this guy from a country that for forever and a day, I mean, look, I get to this point in the conversation and say, I don't expect people to believe the word that I say. You know, I'm a self-confessed conspiracy theorist. I'm a crazy person, okay? And I don't expect anyone to believe a word I say. I prefer that you go and do your own research and go and prove me wrong. Oh, yeah, but I looked on Google, Chris. On the mainstream media, they told me this, Chris. Oh, God, help me. Help me. The issue that we have is so broad and so massive, and the corruption everywhere is so broad and so crazy that it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you share. It doesn't matter. You know, you can talk all day about the things that are going on and show the connections to people of what's happening in the world. You know, with this leads to that, leads to that, leads to that. So we have. I'll join another dot in for you if you'd like into this whole. Well, let's join a bunch of dots in together with Ukraine. Okay, let's join a bunch of those little pinpoints of data sets, if you like, which is what I do. I go and look at data. I look at a huge amount of data. I look at conspiracy streams. I look at aggregation sites. I look at mainstream. I look at history, documentaries, newspaper articles. I look at a vast amount of information to try and understand the world in a way that I can talk about it in a way that makes sense. Okay? Now, by aggregating all these data points, you can put together a picture of how things work politically and the structure of that political process and how it is working together to form the world that we're living in, which is completely falling apart. I mean, we can all agree that the world's not in a good state. And now, you know, Trump's been in power for 30 days, but everything's Trump's fault. Okay? Now, I'm not letting Trump off the hook, you know. If he steps out of line or he fucks up, I'm going to be the first one to call him out. Of course I am. Like I would anybody, you know. Praise the good and criticize the bad, which is where we should be. We have to hold people accountable for the shit, for the bullshit and the lies and the corruption and the absolute nonsense that we're being told. Do we agree on that? Now, let's get some data points out of the way with Ukraine, okay? Firstly, Joe Biden's son, Hunter, is on the board. Well, Hunter, which is Joe Biden's son, Devon Archer, I'm not positive of his name, John Kerry's son, I'm pretty sure that's his name, don't quote me, John Kerry's son and Nancy Pelosi's son, Paul Jr., are all three on the board of Ukrainian oil companies, oil and gas, with zero experience. Okay? That's a data point that we have to take into account. One of those companies, the company that Hunter Biden's on the board of, is called Burisma. Okay? Burisma was being investigated by a prosecutor in Ukraine looking into what Burisma was doing, you know, and how the company was operating. I can't remember the name of the guy who was running it. It doesn't matter. You can go and look it up for yourself if you're really that interested. But the corruption is deep there, okay? Burisma Holdings, oil and gas company, Joe Biden's son was on the board of, getting 80 grand a month with zero experience. Okay? That's a data point. Now, Joe Biden was supposed to go to Ukraine to announce they're getting $1 billion of relief aid. And there's a video. There's a video of it. I posted it on my Facebook today of Joe Biden saying, well, you ain't getting the $1 billion unless you fire the prosecutor. I'm leaving here in 6 hours. And if you haven't fired that prosecutor, you ain't getting the $1 billion. And then if Ukrainian president, so the president says, but you're not the president, you don't get to make that decision. He says, well, give him a call. Give the president a call. This is Obama, of course, when Joe Biden was vice president. He said, yeah, give him a call. He said, but you ain't getting that $1 billion unless you fire the prosecutor. And son of a bitch, the prosecutor got fired. This is the prosecutor who was looking into Burisma, where Joe Biden's son was on the board of. Okay? Another data point. Then we have another data point where we have a company called FTX. It was a crypto exchange run by a guy called SBF, more acronyms of course, Sam Bankman-Fried, whose mother, Sam Bankman-Fried's mother, was on collected vast amounts of money for Act Blue, which collected money for Democrats' election campaigns. Okay, his father was a tax attorney who specialised in setting up shell companies. Okay, now if you want to have a look at the structural company structure of FTX and Alameda Holdings, which are Sam Bankman-Fried's two companies. FTX. Oh, here's a little deer here. Let's see if I can turn the camera around for a second, get there before you see it. Walk you through the forest there. I don't know whether you can see it. Just behind the trees over there. Little one. See it? There we go. A little bit of wildlife with Chris Lodge. Just so I can show you where I live. I mean, it's beautiful around here. It's just being ruined by these people that want to build a nuclear power station that's not green. Anyway, I don't want to get off the subject again. So, Sam Bankman-Fried, his parents. His father sets up shell companies, and his mother donates money to Democrats. Okay? Should we go a little bit further with FTX? Sam Bankman-Fried. Okay, let's go just a little bit further with who Sam Bankman-Fried is, okay? Sam Bankman-Fried ran this company, this crypto exchange. It came out of nowhere, by the way. I've been in crypto for a long time, and I'm telling you, when FTX came out of nowhere and was endorsed by some of the biggest names in sports and media, became one of the biggest crypto exchanges in the world, and then was found guilty of fraud. Sam Bankman-Fried, and is in prison for fraud right now. Okay, yeah. Now, money that was sent over to Ukraine, okay, was sent from Ukraine to FTX, crypto exchange, right? FTX, crypto exchange, yeah, for Sam Bankman-Fried, okay. Was sent to FTX and then laundered through FTX back to not just Democrats, but political campaigns through things like Act Blue, which was collecting money for, in this case, Act Blue is a Democrat campaign funds collector that Sam Bankman-Fried's mother was collecting vast sums of money for politicians to fund their campaigns. Another data point. Okay, now we have to have a look at the bigger picture of Ukraine with the whole 2014 Maidan revolution, the whole why Russia invaded in the first place, when they were promised through Minsk agreements that NATO wouldn't move 1 inch closer to Russia, where, you know, all these countries, Finland and all these other countries, joined, you know, right on the Russian border. And then if we go to another data point, which is Rosemont Seneca, another company linked to Hunter Biden, that is also linked to Department of Defense contracts, where bioweapons facilities were set up in Ukraine to manufacture bioweapons such as COVID. Oh no, Chris, you're wrong. You don't understand. That was okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, I know people are going to push back on that one as well, but Victoria Nuland, the same woman that was responsible for overthrowing a democratically elected leader in the Ukraine in 2014 through a phone call that is available if you really want to go and listen to it. A phone conversation with the ambassador of Ukraine, the US ambassador to Ukraine, where she openly said, this isn't the person we want. We need to get somebody who is pro-American rather than pro-Russian in the position, even though that person who was the pro-Russian was voted in by the majority, which is democratically elected, right? We're going to save democracy, do we? We're saving democracy by being in Ukraine when the democratically elected leader of Ukraine, elected by the people, was overthrown by America because they weren't pro-America, they were pro-Russian. Saving democracy. I think we've lost touch with what democracy means. I think maybe, but maybe that's just because I'm biased and stupid and part of a cult, right? Data point, 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 data point. Don't take any of that into consideration. Just believe what we're telling you. Don't believe your lying eyes. Believe what I'm telling you. So this is where we are in a world where you have, look, and where there's bad, there's also good. You know, Trump is trying to find a peace negotiation that both sides can agree to. When you've got two warring countries, the youth are out there killing each other on behalf of politicians, on behalf of people who are clinking champagne glasses together at meetings of world leaders. You've got the youth of those countries that are dying on behalf of all that. And for what? Democracy, right? You're trying to find a peaceful negotiation to end this violence where people are dying all over the place, to find a way that it can be ended. And whether Ukraine likes it or not, they're going to be giving up part of their land because they believed the nonsense where European leaders said, we're going to stand with you, we're going to stand behind you, and we're going to have you join NATO. Look, this is much bigger than what everyone imagines it to be, okay? Why would they want Ukraine and NATO? Oh, but it's security for NATO, Chris. I'm like, okay. And security for Ukraine, right? Because we'll back up Ukraine. So what it is, Article 5 of the NATO agreement by joining NATO, that if one of the NATO countries gets bombed by another one, then all the other NATO countries have got to join in to fight against the transgressor of that what they've done, okay? So in this case, if Ukraine was in NATO and Russia went in there after going to the UN Security Council and begging for the UN to stop the violence happening in Maidan for 8 years, that if Russia had then gone in, they would have been fighting the whole of NATO. Now, the performance of Zelensky at the White House, where he is openly arguing with the guy that's trying to end the war, who's trying to find a peaceful solution to what's been going on for all these years under Biden, is a disgrace. I mean, this whole thing is a disgrace. It's disgraceful the way that this is being handled, you know? You've got a guy that's been running around the world begging for money from everyone, and, we've got to stay in war, we've got to stay in war. I mean, here we are. What year are we in? 2025. 2025, and war is still the best way to handle this shit, right? And if you listen to these global leaders where we have to have a global globalists, yeah, we've been through globalists for years. Globalists like Bill Gates, yeah, who went to the island. Globalists like Justin Castro up in Canada. Yes, I mean Castro. It's Fidel Castro's boy. Oh, you're such a crazy conspiracy theorist, Chris. Yep. These same global people that have been to the island, by the way, with a convicted paedophile. Yeah. Keir Starmer protecting paedophiles in this country because, well, we can't possibly go after them because it would be seen to be racist. Okay? These people are saying, we need a global government. We need a global government so that we can, rather than having individual countries that can't even govern themselves, we need to have a global governance so that we wouldn't have these problems. So we need a government, one world order, military, so that anybody steps out of line. Now, we've been through this before as well, where I've been talking about Western nations, America, UK, France, Germany, all these Western nations that condemned the 9/11, right? 9/11, the September 11th, back in 2001. I was in America for, by the way. Oh yeah, it's a gay. Sorry, misspoke there. It wasn't a gay. It was a guy. Was a guy called Osama bin Laden, living in a cave in Afghanistan, that hijacked all these planes and crashed them into America on September 11th. Right. So another data point. That guy Osama bin Laden, was funded, trained, operated by the CIA. How did that all happen? Oh, through USAID, USAID, which is USA International Development. So it was a CIA slush fund for whatever world leader toppling they wanted to do at that particular time. Okay, another data point, just to make sure that we're adding the data points into the little bucket of understanding this shit show as we go. Just, another data point into the little bucket there. Okay, Osama bin Laden was and is operated, funded by the CIA. Okay, now the 9/11 thing, we still don't know anything about that either. Yeah, some planes flew into some buildings, right? And done by Osama bin Laden. And then we went on to Iraq, the axis of evil, weapons of mass destruction. Remember that? I do. Another data point. All bullshit. No weapons of mass destruction, because Hans Blix, the UN's weapon inspector, was there, and he said there's no weapons of mass destruction. It's all bullshit. No, it's definitely happening. We have to go and take out the Iraqi government. This is just after the Iraqi government said they wanted to have a gold-backed currency. Nothing to see here. Let's move along. Because they're the axis of evil, weapons of mass destruction, right? Then Syria. Oh, yes. Assad, Bashir al-Assad. He gassed his own people with chlorine weapons. Oh, my God, he's such a bad person. Oh, God, he's such a... Oh, that was a bullshit as well, was it? Oh, right. Yeah, so Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, that these Western nations have been going in and going to war with for democracy, of course. So we can do that. And of course, we can buy more weapons for Israel to defend their borders, and we can buy more weapons for Ukraine to defend their borders. Who's defending our borders? Who's defending the US border? We've got tens of millions of people who've walked over the border. No one knows who they are. Walking around in the country. Same here. People arrive on rubber dinghies with brand new life vests on. They're fleeing oppression, Chris. Well, what do you mean for the wars that we started in their nations, you mean? Is that what you're talking about? Is that what I'm talking about? All military-aged men. Like, if I was going to flee my home nation, surely I'd protect my family, wouldn't I? And take my family with me out of the war zone, wouldn't I? A lot of military-aged males are landing on our shores in rubber dinghies and being put up in hotels. Don't you think that's strange? But, that's racist, Chris. That's xenophobic, Chris. You can't talk about foreigners that way, even though you're a foreigner. I'm a foreigner in this nation. Came through the right channels. Did it the right way. But you're not fleeing war-torn Syria. And why is Syria war-torn? So the Western nations, it's okay for us to go and invade that nation because democracy. But when Russia does it, they're the worst, and we all have to fight against Russia. Oh, yes, but Chris, there was a UN resolution. No, there wasn't. Go back and look. Was there a UN resolution? No. Because this UN global governance body perhaps isn't what we were told it was. Maybe that's the truth. So, look, we have to look at the information that we're being presented with and ask the question, why are we being presented with this? Because we've been lied to for years, for decades. My entire life we've been lied to about everything. The newspapers, the media, there's always a narrative that wants to paint a picture about a way of perceiving the reality through their propaganda bullshit. Much like COVID, okay? Where they use language. Remember, we've talked about words and spells and how you spell things, and yeah, okay. Oh, but you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. Yes, I am a crazy conspiracy theorist. I'm the first to admit I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist. But COVID was a prime example of where they used language to tell you something that wasn't true, okay? And that language was people died with COVID, okay? So the testing, which was proven to be false, where you had false positives, as exposed by the Tanzanian president, who came out and said, we tested it on motor oil, we tested it on sheep, we tested it on fruit, and the test came back positive. And subsequently, not long after that, the Tanzanian president died, where he exposed that the tests were coming back with false positives. So you had a test with false positives during COVID. The guy who invented the test, the PCR test, a guy called Kerry Mullis, who won the Nobel Prize for his discovery of, for what he did for science. Okay, this is a Nobel Peace Prize, Nobel Science Prize winner for PCR testing. The guy who invented the PCR test said the PCR test should never be used to diagnose anything, because given enough cycles, if you cycle it through enough, you can find anything you want to find in there. Right, so we're using those tests, the ones that should never be used, told to us by the guy who created them, Nobel Prize winner, remember. We were told that those tests were the proof that people had it. So we needed a test to tell us we had a deadly disease that was killing everybody. Then people who were tested post-mortem when they died in a car accident or a motorbike accident, they were tested post-mortem and we were told they died with COVID. That was counted as a COVID death. The same media organisations that were telling us that bullshit are the same media organisations that are telling us that we have to believe what we're hearing about what's happening in Ukraine, the Epstein lists, all this. Now, the reason that I'm mostly upset about the way that this Epstein information wasn't handed to us and wasn't given to us, is that the media that has been hiding all this information and trying to say, look over there, squirrel. The media that's been doing that to us and saying everything you're saying is bullshit, it's all a conspiracy theory, by not releasing the information and doing what they did and giving us a whole pile of redacted documents, it just gives fuel to the fire for all the people that want to point to the conspiracy theorists and say, see, everything you believe is bullshit. It's all based on nothing. It's all, you're taking all these talking points, Chris, you make it into a narrative, all these data points you keep on talking about, Chris, make it into a narrative that you think makes sense, and yet nothing is real. Nothing's been revealed because there's nothing there to reveal. So you're giving the people who refuse to look at information ammunition to tear down the people that do look at information and present that information in platforms such as this. That's why I'm angry about it, because it is a slap in the face to everything that we've been trying to reveal. Now, the point of all this, I suppose, is that you can only delay the exposure of everything, which is the open criminality, the corruption, the involvement of nation states and intelligence agencies in the running of narratives to remove world leaders and to remove information from the public consciousness to benefit them. So we've got to a point now, the fuck around and find out movement is where we're not going to stand for it anymore, where you have political figures or attorneys general or media. We're not going to stand for it anymore, where you're going to have these kind of people that are going to dictate a narrative to us and say, well, that's all we've got. You know, the FBI is stonewalling us. Now, the FBI run by Kash Patel. Kash Patel's just got the job, so he's making changes within there, and I'm happy about that. You know, great. We need some of this accountability in this country here in the UK, because we've got politicians. Oh, we've got a massive black hole in our budget. That's why we have to increase taxes, and we have to raise your energy costs, and we have to basically put you underfoot, under our boots, so that you'll accept what we tell you to. And then we come back to, well, this information that is being held by the FBI is also being held up by the SDNY. Now, for those of you who have heard that acronym, SDNY, and still don't know what that is, because, well, there's acronyms everywhere, right? Yeah. All these letters, you know, part of the alphabet, right? What do they call the agencies? The CIA, the FBI, the MI6, the, you know, Mossad, all the, what do they call them all? Alphabet agencies, right? Because of the numbers and letters, you know, yeah, alphabet agencies. What is the parent company of Google called? Oh, wait. Oh, actually, I won't. I'll tell you. It's called Alphabet. And where did Google come from? Oh, you see, that was developed in someone's garage, you know. Nope. Nope. Sorry to burst your bubble. Pop. You really should do some more research. Anyway, SDNY is the Southern District of New York. The Attorney General, the litigation department of the New York city, Southern District of New York is SDNY. Okay, now another data point here. Who is on the cases for Jeffrey Epstein, gathering information, and there was another guy that was arrested with a laptop. What was his name again? Anthony Weiner? Anybody remember him? Anthony Weiner, who was the husband of a woman called Huma Abedin. Huma Abedin being Hillary Clinton's right-hand woman. So Huma Abedin, Hillary Clinton's right-hand woman, was sexting underage girls and was caught. And when he was caught, he had a laptop. And on that laptop was a file called insurance policy that definitely didn't have any incriminating evidence against Hillary Clinton. Sorry, I must have a cough there. Must be the new strain of COVID that's going to kill me this time. So Anthony Weiner's laptop, okay. I know this, trust me, it's all going to circle back, you know, Jen Psaki. The Anthony Weiner's laptop taken into evidence, and all the police, there was I think 12 police that saw that file and those videos and that file, okay. 9 of the 12, I don't know the numbers, don't quote me, okay. It was a lot of the police officers, let's just call it that, who saw that file, were physically sick and killed themselves. Just like the 56 other people that Hillary Clinton knows that kill themselves. Did I just say that out loud? And let me say it again, I'm not suicidal. I'll never hang myself by a red cord on a doorknob, okay? It'll never happen. So if it happens, it wasn't me. Now, Anthony Weiner, his laptop was held by whom? Oh, that's right, the Southern District of New York. Just like all the Epstein files, right? Just like the Ghislaine Maxwell files. Epstein's co-defendant in the trafficking of children to an island where they were raped by celebrities who were on the list of people who flew there. Southern District of New York. Now, another data point, like I say. We have to, with all these data points, we just follow them in there and We'll see what comes out the other side. So, who is working at the Southern District of New York on all these cases? What person could that be? James Comey's daughter, you say? James Comey? Wait, that can't be right. James Comey, I think, is it Maureen? Maureen, I think it is. Maureen Comey? Maybe not her name, maybe. Hey, go and check it out for yourself. I don't know. I'm a crazy person, remember? Who is James Comey's daughter? Who's James Comey? Wasn't James Comey the FBI director before that Trump fired? Wasn't he that guy? Wasn't he the guy that said he set Trump up for failure? Wasn't that the guy? So his daughter has been running interference at the Southern District of New York legal office, where she's been handling all that information and the evidence about Epstein and Anthony Weiner. That's interesting. Doesn't prove anything, Chris. Yes, of course it doesn't prove anything because, well, we haven't seen the evidence, have we? Now, where do we go from here? This is the question I'm asking myself because, honestly, where do we go from here? Because it's all, like, as I say, nothing is independent of each other. It's all linked together. It's all corruption. It's all money laundering. Oh, but the day before 9/11, what happened? The Pentagon came out and said, we're missing $2 trillion from the budget. You know, the Pentagon, you know, the world military, you know, the UK is the money capital and the Vatican is the intellectual capital where the Pope's about to die. So the Pope is dying. Okay. Now, for those of you, but that's the head of the Roman Catholic Church, Chris. You can't speak ill of someone who's ill, unless you knew, of course, what the Vatican was involved in. Hiding paedophiles, you know, people convicted, people, you know, people who've been accused, multiple counts of raping children, and the Vatican just hides them away. So the Pope's sick, dying. So when the Epstein files do come out, is that the day that the Pope's going to die or be announced dead? I don't know. Remember, crazy person, okay? Remember. So, where do we go from here? This is the question I keep asking myself. What is the next steps? How do we progress from the point where we are, where we've got information that's being suppressed, blatant open corruption, media lies, everything's being exposed, you know, all these things that are seemingly separate are all now seemingly to be intertwined, from 9/11 to money laundering through Ukraine to human trafficking to the people crossing the border in the US, you know, the cartels, another data point. I mean, honestly, it just gets more ridiculous by the fucking second. Who is the new president of Mexico? What's her name? Maria Stein? Stein? Really? Sounds Mexican to me. Who's now changing the constitution in Mexico to say that the drug cartels are just business people and can't be deemed to be terrorists. Now, all the other prime ministers and presidents and politicians who are going to run Mexico are all dead because the cartels killed them. And now the woman who's clearly Mexican is now saying, well, the cartels are just business people and they're not terrorists. While they let millions of people cross the border, you know, and all the, I love that you've got all these people protesting in Mexico. Viva la Mexico! Viva Mexico! Viva Mexico! All the Mexicans across the border, and obviously Venezuelans and all the other people from other nations, all out there protesting. Viva Mexico! Or if Mexico's so good, why don't you move back there? Oh, because the cartels are fucking openly killing people and the government's corrupt. But you want to cross into a different nation and shit all over the nation that has taken you in to say that Viva Mexico, when you don't want to go back there because it's corrupt and people are dying all over the place from organizations that are not terrorists. They're just business people. Well, where do we go? Like, I keep getting distracted by this whole, there's so much bullshit. There's so much bullshit. So where do we go? Now, for me, it has to start, and this is the hardest part. Is to get the information out there, okay? This is my role, is to go and speak about this stuff and make people, or get people to at least argue with me and question the narrative. Because while people are blindly accepting the narrative that has been spun by politicians, by the media, by social media, Mark Zuckerberg, the guy who was on the island, who's flown there, friends with Epstein, he came out and said, we were not going to use fact checkers anymore on Facebook because, they're a bit too biased. They're the media. We're not going to use fact checkers anymore. We're going to use a system much like they use on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it now, where it's community notes. Okay, I'm still getting fact checked all over Facebook. I got fact checked on a on a meme the other day that said pregnant men are more likely to die from heart attacks from climate change, and they fact checked it. I mean, honestly, it gets more ridiculous by the day. But the first step in this process, is to reveal the corruption, the fraud, the waste, the open hypocrisy, the lies, and the agenda to the wider audience. By disseminating information like I do in all these videos where I talk about this data points, remember? Data points, where I talk about this kind of stuff, open criticism, don't care, don't care. Throw whatever criticism you want my way, that's fine, I don't care, Until we can get to this point where we have the open transparency of the corruption, fraud, waste, and people trafficking, money laundering, all of that, everything needs to come out. On a global scale, we need to have it all out in the open for what's happened. Then we need to expose the fraud that is the financial system, where you have organizations that can print money into existence from nothing and then charge you interest on it. Who are they owned by the way? Who is the media owned by? Who is Pornhub owned by? That's destroying our moral fabric of our society. Who is OnlyFans owned by? The banks, who are they owned by and run by? We need to have an exposure first of this blatant open corruption before we can move forward. Now, where is that going to come from? Because we've seen that there's stonewalling through organisations. So we can see what this is exposing to me, this whole thing with Pam Bondi and the FBI and the information that was supposed to be there and wasn't there, it's all blacked out. It exposes that there's more people still to root out in these government, in the media, in social media, influencers, all these people that are being exposed for everyone to see. That has to be pushed forward and made sure that people see it. Because if they can't see it, we can't move forward. Everything needs to come out. And this is going to be the hardest thing that has ever happened for people because, as the 17th letter of the alphabet said, the end won't be for everybody. You're not going to like it. You're not going to like it because all the people that you thought that you loved that were telling you the truth, and Anderson Pooper Scooper, you know him? Anderson 360. All these people are part of the problem, part of the lies and the fabrication and the hiding of what they don't want you to see that they're involved in. That this blatant propaganda that is being run through Hollywood, that's being run through politics, the media, everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere. The entire. Everything that we see, everything that we come into contact with is carefully crafted, manipulated to have you believe a narrative that's completely not true. oh yes, Chris, you have to pay taxes, otherwise the roads wouldn't be any good. I don't know where it is, how it is in your country, but in my country, the roads are shit. The roads are shit. The potholes everywhere, you know, the freeways, the roads are crap. In this nation, much like in San Francisco, in LA, they were supposed to build a high-speed rail. None of it got built, and all the money's gone. That's in the UK. High-speed rail. Whee! When I spoke to a friend of mine who lives in China, they've got bullet trains there that, you know, go 350 miles an hour, and we can't even get a high-speed rail in this country. Try moving around this country. Pfft, it's a fucking joke. But sounds hopeless, right? Oh, but Chris, everything's so bad. What are we going to do? It sounds hopeless. I'm not hopeless. I see change. I see things happening. I see the corruption being exposed. I see information coming out by, you know, the more they try and push narratives. So no, Epstein wasn't involved in the intelligence services. He wasn't involved with the Israeli intelligence service. The more they kind of push these narratives, the more people like me are going to stand up and say, fuck off. It's a lie. And here's why it's a lie. We're getting to a point of in the world where people such as myself, I'm an average guy, I'm a normal person, just an average guy that works hard, you know, works 6 days a week. My wife works 7. We try and do the right thing. Like I said, I've got most of my life wrong, so I'm not a shining pillar of beacon of truth and honesty and the best person in the world. I'm not. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone, remember. I've got most of my life wrong, but I haven't gone out and destroyed nations. I haven't gone out and stolen and raped and pillaged and destroyed the world for my own gain. I haven't done it. I've worked for everything I have. I've taken nothing from anybody that hasn't been offered to me or given to me or that I haven't worked for. Okay? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I want nothing. I will work for everything I have, and I will continue to work for everything I have, and educate myself so that I can better the world through my knowledge and through what I'm setting up in the world to benefit people. Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. There is a lot to be hopeful for. The exposure is the first point. The exposure of what we've been living through, the world that we've been living in, this fake reality, this fake matrix that we've been living in that's been created by these organisations, that has to be exposed. It is being exposed. So you can take a breath, go for a walk in nature like I'm doing. This is why I come out here. I come out here to have a rave, a rant and a rave, and everything's terrible, but it's not terrible. And I want you to understand it's not terrible. There are wonderful things happening. There are wonderful people working on our behalf. But that said, we still have to keep the pressure on to make sure that as these people try and tread on our necks and take away our rights and tell us, you will bow to our demands, they're going to have their fuck around and find out moment, because the more you push people to their own demise and the more you lie to people and control them and manipulate them and propagandize them into believing bullshit, when they come to that realization, which is why I'm out here doing what I do, trying to share information that runs counter to it, they're going to have their fuck around and find out moment, because people will get to a point where they realize that they were locked up in their homes, their loved ones died by themselves, and they couldn't go to their funerals, they couldn't have weddings, they couldn't live their lives because of a lie, or they've been impoverished and they lost their businesses because of a lie, or that they were supporting a war because of a lie. That's going to come back on you, politicians. Hear me now. That's going to come back on you, and you're going to have your fuck around and find out moment. That's where we are. Fuck around and find out. There's one chance for these people to change their ways and start revealing the corruption and start working honestly on behalf of the people, or the people are going to stand against them. And I don't want to think about the consequences of that. I'm not a kind of person that's going to be a revolutionary and stand up and take a gun or anything like that. I will never join a march or a rally because it's fucking pointless. It is completely fucking pointless. I would just disregard everything the government says to me. You will do this? No, I won't. You wear a mask? No, I won't. You have this injection? No, I won't. We have to stand our ground in the knowledge, which is what I'm sharing to you. Well, like I say, don't believe me. Go look for yourself. Educate yourself in what's been going on in the world, because otherwise you're going to fall. If you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for everything. Maybe that's really the message today. Stand for something, or you're going to fall for everything. And if you keep on falling for everything, at the end of this, when all the information comes out and we are exposed to the truth of the blatant fraud, corruption, and rape and pillage of all of our nations, then you're going to be the one that is going to have to blame yourself for that, because if you refuse to look at information that runs counter to what you believe, then I'm sorry, but you're part of the problem. So, a long one today. I do apologise, but it is, like you see from all the information I'm trying to share today, it's hard to summarise all this down into a little 5-minute snippet that will satisfy the people with goldfish brains that it can only focus for 2 seconds. Oh, just give me one subject, Chris, because I can only focus for 2 seconds. Like, oh, look, the squirrel, you know. So, I hope that today what I've done is to make sense and try and drop some data points and trying to have you look at information in a different way, because that's what I'm here for. I'm not here to make money. I'm not here to do anything other than to share information and have you think and have you consider what we're seeing a different way, a different perspective on the information, and to try and help you make decisions that are going to benefit you, and we can stand against tyranny and bullshit together. That's what I'm here for, and I hope that you've enjoyed what I've done today. That all said, go out into the world, do good and be good, and you can change the world with the way that you think, the way that you act, and what you're sharing, how you're interacting with people, and standing your ground on subjects that you know that you're right on. Don't be fooled into believing something just because somebody who you think that you trust is telling you. Don't trust me, don't trust Trump, don't trust anybody. Go and look for yourself. That's the only way we can move forward. And hopefully we won't have to have that fuck around and find out moment where we're on the receiving end of, oh shit, I fucked up. So, thank you one and all joining me. Go out to the world, do good, be good, of course. And I look forward to seeing you real soon. Take care of yourself, take care of each other. Ciao for now.